If you're planning to buy or sell in Houston in 2026, this is something that you need to hear. The market isn't crashing, but it is changing. And we're starting to see some signs that homes are moving fast while others are sitting and cutting prices. And most sellers aren't ready for this shift. Now, I've been in real estate for over 20 years, and today I'm going to be breaking down exactly what's changing in the Houston market in 2026 and what it means if you're buying or selling. All right, so here's the deal. I know a lot of you are seeing the headlines right now or even the thumbnails on YouTube and thinking that something crazy just happened. Kind of like the market just snapped overnight and everything's crashing. Now, they do that just for the clicks, right? But when you're actually in this market every single day, you see a very different story. Now, something did change in Houston. That part is true. But the problem is a lot of people are still looking at this market the same way they did a few years ago. And that's where they're getting it wrong. Now, the market didn't fall apart. It's not crashing, at least not here in Houston. It may be freezing outside right now, but not in the market. What actually happened is a lot quieter and it's affecting everything right now. So things have simply just slowed down enough for buyers and sellers to start thinking again. And if you're buying or selling right now, that shift changes how you approach pretty much everything. Now, if you're trying to understand why 2026 feels so different, it really starts with buyer behavior. And buyers today aren't necessarily panicking. They're not in a big rush. They're not stretching just to try to and win a house. They're watching their monthly payment, okay? They're running the numbers. They're deciding what actually makes sense for their budget. Now, that mindset alone changes how the entire market works. Mortgage rates right now are around 6.1, maybe 6.2%, and some people think they could dip into the low 5% range by the end of 2026. And that's not the old 3% world we remember from 2022. But it's a real relief compared to where we were over the last 18 months. So buyers feel that difference and it gives them room to move selectively. Now, at the same time, inventory is giving buyers options again. And right now there's a roughly 15 to 20% more homes on the market across the Houston area than just a year ago. We're currently sitting around 4 to 5 months of supply, depending on which area you look at. So some could consider that balance. Some would consider that a seller's market. I'd say it feels more like a buyer's market right now with the conditions. But overall, buyers don't really have to jump on the first house they see. They can actually slow down. They can compare homes and really walk away if something doesn't feel right. And what's really squeezing people right now is the monthly payment. Because over the last 5 years, the average mortgage payment across the Houston area has gone up dramatically while incomes have kind of stagnated or lagged behind. So buyers learn the hard way to watch their numbers. And that mindset really isn't going away anytime soon. But that's why pricing areas show up really quickly in 2026. Buyers already know what works for their budget. So whenever a home is priced too high, they don't negotiate emotionally. They actually just move on. The gap between what sellers hope to get and what buyers are willing to pay right now is really a lot wider than it's been over the last couple of years. And this is where things start to tighten up, is that appraisals are putting hard ceiling on prices. And later, when we talk about which homes are actually selling, you'll see how this knocks certain listings out immediately. But first, you need to understand how this plays out in real life. Let's say you spend $50,000 on a high-end kitchen remodel, but similar homes nearby are selling in the mid-400s. The appraisal comes in around the mid-400s, maybe low 450s. That's not the high 400s we were expecting. And that happens because appraisers look at what homes actually sold for, not what you spent fixing it up. So appraisals don't really care how much money you put into the house. They care about the recent sales. And in 2026, lenders are not pushing values the way they used to. So if you're expecting to get every single dollar back from a custom wine room or home theater, that's where sellers are getting surprised. The market doesn't give you much wiggle room anymore. So if you miss the price, that will show up really fast. Personal upgrades don't automatically mean more value, and buyers are completely fine just waiting until the numbers actually make sense. And if you're watching this and thinking about buying or selling in Houston this year, we work with clients dealing with exactly these market shifts every single day. So whether you're trying to price your home right or find a good opportunity as a buyer, of course, I can help you cut through the noise with real data. And by the way, if we haven't met yet, I'm Travis, a local real estate expert here in Houston, Texas. My team and I help people buy and sell homes across the Houston area every single day. Some are relocating, some are moving across town, and others are just trying to figure out what makes the most sense for their next move. Now, we work with first-time buyers, growing families, right-sizers, professionals, singles wanting to live inside the loop, condo buyers, and people starting a new chapter in life. And choosing the right area and the right home can completely change how your day-to-day life feels. So, if you want to stay up to date on what's happening here in Houston, the Houston real estate market, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button so that you never miss another video. And if you ever need our help, all of our contact information is going to be in the description below. All right, so let's talk about what sellers are actually starting to feel on the ground. Right now, there are noticeably more sellers than active buyers across much of the Houston area. So that one shift alone explains almost everything sellers are about to run into. The market that you probably remember in 2021 and 2022 may not be coming back fully in 2026. If you price your home high hoping for multiple offers or a bidding war, it's probably going to sit. Homes are just taking a little longer to sell across the board. In many parts of Houston, we're seeing homes take anywhere from about 45 to 70 days depending on the price point, location, and condition. Even in strong suburban areas where homes used to sell in a couple of weeks, we're now seeing them take closer to 45 to 60 days if they're not priced right. And once you get into the higher price points, homes can sit 60 days or more unless they're positioned correctly from day one. Competition right now is pretty intense. Your home isn't competing with just a few listings anymore. It's competing with a lot of them. Buyers know they have choices, so they're not rushing, and they're probably not going to pay extra. Oh, and later you'll see how this shows up during negotiations and how waiting too long can actually hurt buyers too. So stick around for that. But first, I need you to see what happens when sellers ignore what's going on. I mean, buyers aren't overthinking this. It's not rocket science. If a home feels overpriced, dated, or just not put together well, they can scroll right past it and just move on. Plus, as agents, we recognize that immediately and we're going to point it out. We've got our buyers looking at it through that lens as well. But here's what actually happens. When you price too high, the home is just going to sit. Then you have to cut the price, and then you have to cut it again. And every time that happens, buyers don't think, oh, a great deal now. They think, why hasn't this home sold? And by the time the prices finally make sense, all the momentum is gone and you lost the upper hand. In December of 2025, the sold to list price ratio for the Houston market was right around 97%, meaning homes were selling about 2 to 3% below asking price on average. Homes that are priced correctly are getting much closer to the list price, sometimes even at list price, while homes priced too high are either taking bigger hits or not selling at all. Your first price matters more than anything. Get it right on day one and serious buyers will show up quickly. If you miss that, you'll spend months trying to recover. Sellers who won't negotiate are having the hardest times. Buyers know they have options. They're fine with just walking away. They'll move on without thinking twice right now. If you're saying, I need $650,000 to buy my next place, I get that. But the market doesn't really care what you need. It's just how it works. It's not harsh, it's just reality. And once you accept that, you can actually build a plan that makes sense. But the real frustration comes from waiting for the old market to come back. And that's really just not going to happen, at least not for right now anyway. Here's what sellers who understand that are doing a lot differently. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or just moving anywhere here in the Houston area, go ahead and subscribe. That's honestly one of the smartest first steps that you can take. Subscribers are going to get, my neighborhood breakdowns, honest market insights most agents don't talk about, and exclusive home tours all across Houston. So whether you're planning to move 30 days from now or a year from now, or just trying to stay informed, this channel will help you make a much smarter decision. All right, so the homes that are actually selling right now in Houston aren't the ones waiting for 2022 prices to come back. And it's not the sellers dropping $50,000 on custom backsplashes or full kitchen remodels either. The sellers winning in 2026 are doing a few things differently. And the first one goes against what a lot of people still believe about pricing. Here's the deal. They're using current data, not just old sales. Just because your neighbor sold in the high 500 2 years ago doesn't mean your home is worth in the low 600,000s today. It might be, but you really need to look at what's sold in the last 90 days at a minimum, and honestly more like the last 30 to 60 days in this market, not listings from a totally different market. And that's why working with someone who's actually watching what's closing right now really matters. The agent who's paying attention to what's happening in real time is going to put you in the best position. A lot of sellers say they don't want to give away their equity, and I get that. But the sellers closing in 30 days aren't giving anything away. They're setting their homes up smarter from day one. That's why we say smart prep beats emotional prep. You want to focus on what actually helps a home sell. Simple upgrades that make the home feel clean and fresh without screaming that you overspent. The goal here is very simple. Just make your home appeal to the widest possible buyer pool, not the one person who shares your exact taste. But first, also understand this. Buyers want potential, not your personality. And this is where strategy really matters. The sellers who are winning in 2026 are making deals easier to close. Things like offering with closing costs or even repair credits. And that's not a sign of panic, it's just smart positioning. When buyers are choosing between two similar homes, the one that helps them solve a money problem is the one that gets the offer. The seller who helps the buyer win faster and with less stress is going to win the deal too. So that flexibility often becomes the deciding factor when everything else looks the same. But let's talk about how all of this looks from the buyer side now. And if you're a buyer watching this and you're wondering, should I wait or should I buy now? Here's what a lot of people are missing. Yes, buyers have more control now than they've had in years. But that window doesn't necessarily last forever. And a lot of buyers are wasting it by looking in the wrong places. I want to show you where the real opportunities actually are. For the first time in a long time, buyers are walking into showings without feeling rushed. And that really changes everything. You're not competing with 15 offers anymore. You're not skipping inspections. You're not writing emotional letters to sellers anymore. You've got time. You've got options. And you've got room to negotiate. Right now, nearly half the homes across the Houston area are selling below list price. The average discount is around 4 to 5%. But that's not a crash. That's a market where negotiation is back. And if you're prepared and patient, there's real value to be found. Now, if you're holding back because you're worried about buying at the top, that's not a bad instinct to have. But trying to time the absolute bottom usually costs you more than buying in a balanced market. And here's why. When rates drop closer to 5%, everybody's going to be jumping back at the same time. And here's what you're going to start noticing. Homes that have been sitting Listings that have been on the market for 2, 3, even 4 months. Sellers who priced too high earlier are going to now be adjusting. Those aren't necessarily bad homes, and a lot of them, they're solid houses that were just usually priced unrealistically from the start. And that mindset is starting to change. You'll also feel way less pressure. You don't have to decide in 24 hours typically. You can get inspections done, you can ask for repairs, you can request closing costs, or even rate buy downs. But don't assume every home is going to sit around. A home in Cypress that's priced correctly in 2026 will still get showings quickly and even offers. We'll get into the market outlook here in a bit, and you'll see why Houston isn't falling apart even with more inventory and longer days on market. But first, you need to know where you're actually buying. If a home is priced right and shows well and checks the boxes on layout and location, it's still going to attract attention. So when you find one that fits the price and makes sense, then you need to be ready. And that part really matters. Pre-approvals aren't optional, they're required. Sellers are seeing fewer offers, which means they're paying close attention to the ones they actually do get. So if you're fully pre-approved and another offer isn't, guess what? You're going to win that. If you can close in 21 days and the other buyer needs 30 days, guess what? You'll probably win. And here's how you'll use that to your advantage. When you find a home that's been listed for, let's say, 40 to 45 days or more, a strong opening offer could be anywhere around 5 to 7% below asking. Not because you're trying to lowball, but because that's where the market actually is. The seller knows it, and their agent should know it too. But that's just a fair place to start. The best opportunities usually don't scream at you. They're not flashing big signs and showing big price drops right away. Most of the time, they're homes that have sat a little longer because the seller's agent read the market wrong at the start, or they let the seller talk them into a price that was unrealistic from the beginning. And they're often in great areas. They might just need a little cosmetic work, and eventually the seller just hits the point where they realize holding their ground is costing them more than being flexible. And if you're moving here from California or New York, this is especially important. You might be used to bidding wars, but Houston isn't really that kind of market anymore. And if you bring that mindset here, you're gonna probably overpay. The best deals won't be perfect. They'll usually need a little imagination, and that's exactly where prepared buyers find value that others miss. And here's the other piece. You might have to move here because of a job relocation, family situation, or some other life change. And guess what? You want to buy a home. So you're tied to the market as it is right now. But I always say we can find a deal in any market, no matter the conditions. You just have to buy correctly. So with all of these changes, a lot of people are wondering if Houston is about to take a hit or even crash. And the short answer is absolutely not. Here's why. Betting against Houston in 2026 doesn't really make sense, even with more homes for sale and longer selling times. Because if we zoom out for a second and just actually look at what matters, you start to see a bigger picture. Houston is still growing. The job market is still expanding, and people are still moving here. From 2023 to 2024 alone, the Houston Metro added nearly 200,000 new residents, one of the largest population increases in the entire country. And at the same time, the region has added tens of thousands of jobs with continued employment growth across healthcare, construction, and other major sectors. And Houston continues to attract major employers and corporate investment, which keeps the local economy moving forward. Growth like that just doesn't hit the brakes overnight. All of that creates a solid foundation for housing demand. So as we look at the forecast and outlook, a major drop in prices is very unlikely. So what we're seeing instead is prices just moving a little bit slower. Most of the projections have appreciation somewhere in the 1% to 4% range this year, depending on the area. That's not flashy, but it is healthy. At the same time, more homes are on the market and activity is expected to pick up as conditions improve and more buyers come on back into the market. Houston also continues to be one of the fastest growing major metros in the country, with strong job growth and steady population increases supporting housing demand. The region is projected to add around 30,000 new jobs in 2026 alone, especially in healthcare and construction. So it's kind of like the chaos is gone and the balance is starting to take place. You've got steady improvement and people are thinking before they act. So Houston isn't crashing. It's just shifting from a sprint to more of a long run. And you'll do best in this market if you come in and be prepared. Buyers need to be ready and move when the right house pops up, and sellers do well when they price it right and make the home look good from day one. So 2026 isn't going to be a bad year for Houston real estate. It's just a smarter one. And smarter markets reward people who make smart decisions. Houston doesn't crash easily, it adjusts. So the homes selling fast in 2026 aren't necessarily the cheapest or the nicest. They're the ones priced for the market that exists, not the market sellers remember or wish they had still from a couple years ago. The sellers who are winning understand one simple thing. The market doesn't reward what you need, it rewards what makes sense. So if you're buying or selling in Houston and want to know which neighborhoods are actually moving right now, not last year or not in theory, then go ahead, shoot me a text, give me a call, or schedule a Zoom. We'd love to meet with you. All of our contact information is going to be on the screen and down in the description below. I'll walk you through what I'm seeing on the ground here and help you figure out how to play this market the smart way. And we love helping people relocating from out of state figure this out. If you're thinking about moving to Houston, make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss the neighborhood breakdowns and the market updates that we share every single week. And if you like my help personally, all of my contact information is going to be in the description below. So reach out anytime and we'll help you make a smooth move to Houston. And be sure to check out my video on Houston's best areas, north, east, west, or south, to see which part of the city might be the best fit for you. And until next time, we hope to show you around town.